is up? It's your boy Earl back at it again with another video for the Vape Professors. So I just released a video on how to optimize your RDTA or RBA base for your pods. So someone messaged me, so Earl, are you saying that I shouldn't buy this brand or that brand because the RBA section is flat and it won't have any flavor? No, that is not what I'm saying, okay? I'm just saying that there are brands with better flavor and there are brands that you need to modify your build just a little bit to get the perfect flavor for you. So even if your RBA base is flat on top, there are still some ways that you can find better flavor for your RBA, which I will dive down and get up close and I will show you guys how to do it. Keep in mind, again, I'm not saying that the RBA is flat, it's not going to have any flavor. It will, but it tends to have less flavor than a rounded RBA section. That being said, let's dive down up close with these two RBAs that are flat on top, and I'll explain how to build it for more flavor. Alright, so here we have two very popular RBAs on the market. I'm not gonna say which brands, but you can tell, right? You can tell which brands these are. There you go, right? So these are two of the most popular brands on the market right now. Very similar deck styles, two very distinct differences. It has the same deck style, but this one has a smaller airflow versus this one. You can see that, right? This one has a wider base than this one. Another difference that you can see is this one has a very flat inner dome. This one. Versus this one, which they did attempt to do a curve, but in the process they created two angles. Okay? Now, this comes into play when I say that when you have an angle, juice tends to condensate. So here are the fixes for these two. Let's start with this brand, right? I'm not saying it's a bad brand. I'm not saying it's the best brand. I'm just saying that there's a way to get the best flavor out of this RBA. Because this brand has a squared off inner dome, what I'll tend to do is I'll pull my coils upwards, away from the airflow and towards the opening. Now this does one thing. It creates a smaller gap between the exit point of this, the top dome, and the coil. So it leaves less room for condensation to happen here, and it gives you the best flavor for this build. So let me show you what I mean. If you're looking at it, it's almost touching the top. See? So there's barely any room for the vapor to go into the joints and condensate. This will give you a better direct flavor. That's the technique with this brand, right? That's the technique with this brand. Not gonna say the name, but yeah, that's how you maximize the flavor on this. If you do it this way, if you do it right, and your wicking is really nice, like loose, and you comb it out on the sides, you'll get really, really, really good flavor out of these. This is why I keep on saying that it depends on your build, on how you use your RBAs and your RDAs. It's always going to depend on how you do your builds. Alright? This is a good buy. I will not say that you shouldn't buy this, because if you have this, the pod itself is really good. The RBA base, with just a few minor taps like this, minor tips and tricks, you can maximize the flavor. On to the next one. Alright, so guys, with this brand, right, it's a bit more trickier. It's a bit trickier. Why? Because they attempted to do a curve, and the problem with that is it created two joints, right? You can clearly see 1, 2. Now with this, it gives you a more compressed chamber. Problem is, you can't elevate the coil that much because it will touch. It will touch the surface. As you can see, I've tested this before. Where is that mark? There you have it, right there. See? That is the mark where my coil has touched the upper dome. So you don't want to elevate too much, but you also want it close to your airflow. So how do you build it? Let me show you. Alright, with this brand, what you want to do is you want to use a 3.5 diameter guide. Right? Why? Because it brings your coil close to this, and it also brings your coil close to the top of the dome, which is over here. Right? So let's put this build in. Same as before, one leg, lock it down, and then adjust. Alright, as you can see, when I'm doing my build, I keep very little space. Right? It's not touching the leads, I guarantee you that. It's not touching the bottom. Right? But it's a 3.5 diameter coil. It will fit. Right? It will fit, but you need to be a bit precise about where you're putting your coils here. Right? What you can do is you can check by removing your guide, trimming your leads. That's a 3.5 millimeter diameter, close to the bottom. It's not touching, I guarantee that. It just looks like, but yeah, see, it's not touching. Right? You can check with your dome. So I don't know how well you guys can see that. The 3.5 does fit, and it's very barely touching the top. So there's like a 0.5 to 1 millimeter difference. Yeah, I'd say 0.5. Right? It's not touching the walls, and that should give you a good solid flavor out of this RBA. See, the coil didn't deform, so that means it didn't touch any of the sides or the top. So that's how you maximize this RBA, right? 3.5 millimeters, it's very close to the airflow, and it's also going to be very close to the top of your chamber. Just make sure that your build is not too wide so it doesn't touch the inner surface of the dome, those curves on the side, right? So you don't need to elevate this coil. You can just use a 3.5 millimeter and it should work fine, as long as you don't exceed the top surface. You'll know, because it will compress. It will compress your coil. It will go like that. Alright? So I will meet you guys back up top, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to do the builds. And we're back up top. As you can see, it's not just the shape of the chamber, it's also how you build it. The flavor will always vary, and it will always depend on your own flavor preferences. The profile of the flavor, the juice, the nicotine. There's so many factors, you just cannot blame one single thing. I'm just explaining again that the design aspect, if you're rounded out, it tends to have better flavor. It's easier to get the best flavor out of it. Now with the flat ones, it's a little bit harder, but it's not impossible to get good flavor out of them. Okay? So don't tell me that I'm not gonna buy this brand because it's flat, I'm not gonna buy that brand because it's flat. No. Just because it's flat doesn't mean it won't have flavor. It just means that in the design aspect, the rounded off sides tend to have better flavor. Okay? So by all means, go ahead and buy whatever RBA that you think is gonna work well with you. It's still up to personal choice. I'm just giving the information for optimizing whatever RBA or RDA or RDTA that you choose to buy. This is an informative channel, and I hope you found value from the video. If you did, please give us a like, subscribe. You can find us on Facebook, and you can also find us on YouTube, Vape Professors, right? That being said, support your local shops, support your local suppliers, because without them, where are you gonna buy your stuff, right? Peace.